Welcome to the Fermented Homestead. If you're new here, my name is Anna, and on this channel, I'm sharing our journey of learning how to turn our home into a homestead. Today, we are at my dad's house. This is Garrison Gardens, and he's going to give us a tour of his not his new property, but his improving property. You guys might have seen this 2 years ago. We came here and did a tour, so now you get to see kind of an update. So he's going to just show us around, and I'm just going to follow him with the camera while he talks.
Okay, so we start out this time of year. We are doing a lot of seeding, doing soil, these trays, plug trays, and then so we start in here with these plugs, and the seeds are put in here manually, yes, and then a little bit of vermiculite goes on top of it, and then each one is numbered and then logged in, so we know exactly when they went in, when they're started, and then we can track of when they sprouted, and then when they're transplanted, and keep a good eye on everything. And then so they go from here into this outside here, into this germination chamber made out of an old refrigerator. You can see it's just sitting in here, and it's actually upside down. But there's a reason for that. And then so it's controlled by here, and then so this is the humidity, and this is the temperature of the water that's down below that you'll see, and this is the temperature of the case itself in there. And then so down below is just an old pan with some water in it, and that's a water heating element. So it heats the water up and then also creates the humidity that it needs, and then which is great, and I can control that. And then so we have the racks of starts in here, and they'll sit in here from anywhere from 1 to 5 days, something like that, and you don't want them in here too long because it is dark and they're going to need light. And then so we're just popping this open for the first time today, and I can see that this tray here, there are a couple of sprouts in here that are coming up. And I don't want this in here any longer, because if they don't, then they're going to get long and spindly, and we don't want that. So this tray here,
The one right below it too.
and the one right below it, and there might be some more. And we're just going to work these one day at a time, one thing at a time. Okay, I got these. So they're going to go back into. They need light, and then so let there be light. And we have several different configurations here, just kind of, in a way, kind of patching things together. And so they will stay on these lights until they get a little bit larger. And then, so we'll just set these right here for right now, and we'll make a little room for them a little bit later. But you can see that some of these really do like this light.
Yeah, they do. Are these marigolds?
Yeah, those are marigolds. Good call.
Right.
Good call. Nice. And these just popped yesterday, and you can see that they're starting to respond to the light already.
Yeah,
and those are more marigolds.
Yellow to green.
Yeah. And these are actually the lights that you turned me on to.
Ah, cool. I hope you use my link.
Yeah, I'm kind of liking those. And these are okay, and these are just made out of old fluorescent light tubes, and they have some new ones that are LED, that are what they call direct drive. In other words, they don't need a ballast or anything like that. You just rip the ballast out of it and then put these bulbs in.
Oh.
And they are standard LED, but they're of two different Ks, I guess, what you call it, Kelvins? Something like that.
I think Calvin's right.
Yeah, and then so there's a 3,000 and then a 5,000, and that is going to give you the full spectrum of the light that it needs. There are certain levels that are good for foliage, certain that are good for flowering, but they don't make it in here for flowering. Well, we're just trying to get these big enough. Ooh, look at those.
That's a lot.
Somebody's going to
What's
have
in there?
fun with that.
Oh, do you just like multi-sow?
Those are lobelia.
Do those get separated?
Yes, they do.
Ooh, good
Yep,
luck.
they'll put up, and actually I think the way we're planning on doing this is popping them out, and they'll actually carve out of here, carve like a 1-inch square, and just take and then pot those up into, and that's going to have to be
Not like
pretty
each individual
quick.
sprout.
No,
Okay.
not with those.
I was like, dang.
Some of those are, and some of these are doing
Squash.
just fine here. No, there's no. These are bachelor buttons, and that's euphorbia. Mountains, no.
I love bachelor's buttons. They look like squash, but just not as thick.
Yeah, and oh, that's dianthus. We got
And you can
dianthus
see
this
here
year.
how he has them marked. He just uses, what is that, like a white chalk pen or something? It's like
that
that
is a
liquid
paint
chalk
pencil.
paint pencil.
Paint pencil.
And he marks each one with his own system, and it corresponds to a number that he's written on each of the seed packets.
Right, and it's all logged in. There's a big spiral-bound notebook that has everything in it. And it's a way to keep track of everything. And these guys are doing just fine.
Oh yeah, you got it going on. I guess I'm kind of glad I didn't bring my sprouts, huh? You're running low on room.
Great. Oh, it's toasty warm out, really.
Yeah, it's just windy.
And so they come out of the light room, seating room, and then they come in here. And this is the greenhouse. And we have a couple of things that we're growing in here. We have lilies in the crates. Trying to get those. They are that much ahead of what's out in the field. So we're trying to get those to come to bloom just a little bit sooner. But all the seedlings come in here and then hanging out in the greenhouse until they're ready to go. And these are just about ready to go. Those are snapdragons, and these are ready to go. And each one of these plugs, and there's a little hole that's in the bottom here, so we can just take them and poke them, and they'll come out as a solid plug. And then those go down into, in this case, that would be 9-inch spacing, and they just go down the whole row. And that's dianthus there, and that'll be 6 inches, and the bells of Ireland, and some chocolate lace flower, and there's a lot of, we grow a lot of different varieties around here. These are some different grasses that will come along that are very nice in arrangements, and so there's just a whole host of different things. Also, something we're trying new this year is ranunculus. We grew some in, like over here, we grew some last year, and they did great. And those are probably twice as big, as, of course, as what they are out in the field. But this year we decided to try some in these bulb crates, and you can see they're getting very close to blossoming out. And as a flower farmer, that's what we want, and we're getting kind of cranked up for that. And there's a few vegetables mixed in here. These are all, let's see, those are edible peas. These are going to be our sweet peas. They're getting pretty close. And lilies are doing good, and there's all kinds of stock. We have a lot of stock. These are sunflowers, and they are getting, they're going to go in the next couple of days. This is broom corn, and certain spots down there we have the annuals, but we also have perennials. And so this Monardia will go down there into a special bed that we made. Just, it's going to be a whole long row of nothing but different perennials. And as you can see, there's just all kinds of stuff, but there is kind of a method to our madness here. And Corinth and Eucalyptus. And some leftover things from last year.
You got a beastie fan since I've been here last.
Yeah.
I remember you fighting off the deers because you had the windows open.
Yeah, finally I figured out how to utilize this greenhouse the way that it is, so I kind of put that in there, and that fan was a real time saver.
That was a game changer.
You know, because it's a game changer because it does. That sun pops out and it just boom, and then I got to run out here real quick and open the doors. But with this fan, it's big enough to where I can keep it cool. Is it temperature controlled? And yeah, there's a temperature when it gets above about 55 degrees, and that's what we're growing right now. The ranunculus likes it around not over 65 degrees, and you can see it's doing great in here. And so it's a matter of keeping it at that temperature for right now. And eventually, after all this goes out into the field, the lilies are done and the ranunculus are done in the crates, and all this will come out, and then we'll start at one end and start planting different things that we experimented with last year that did great. And then so this whole area in here, like zinnias did great in here. Let's see, what else did really good? Zinnias and...
Your tomatoes are like a jungle in here.
Well, yeah, tomatoes were a jungle in here, but not so much now. But there's a lot of flowers that did really good in here. Zinnias, asters.
Close?
Yeah.
Daffodils are looking pretty. What's that? What's that purple?
That's a hellebore.
Oh.
Hellebore. We have a few. This is just kind of a volunteer patch that kind of came up here. And, oh, that looks kind of nice. And that was kind of the inner workings, but this is the outer workings of Garrison Gardens. And in this area here we have a lot of perennials like 9-bark and well, there's eucalyptus there, there's more cerinthe. This is where our lupins are, and then also we have some fox-tailed lilies that are coming up, and everything's starting to pop a little bit. There's quite a selection of different stuff. It doesn't, and you can see some of the stuff is starting to pop already.
Talk a little louder.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to hear them.
And lady's mantle is out there. There's a lot of mint, which goes good in arrangements, and kind of a perennial bed. Trying to get more and more 9-bark in, just can't get enough of that stuff. So, and down around this part of it is all dahlias, all the way down around that area, and then so starting down there, and then there's the delphinium, peonies. There's a whole bed of lilies that's in there, more lilies, more peonies. This year we planted a lot of allium, so there's a whole bed of allium that's in there. And these are three new beds we put in this year. So we have lilies, and then we discovered a bulb, an unidentified bulb, and they were really large, like this, and we don't know what they are, and so that's what those green things are. We're very curious to see what comes up from there. And then these are our gladiolas, and these are in the ground, and when they start to show, then I have crates that are all packed away, and then so we'll plant those in order to kind of succession plant them and get them so everything just doesn't pop at once, and we can spread them out. And these are tulips that are in here, and the reason why they're in here is because tulips are susceptible to botrytis, and so by keeping the moisture off them, then they won't get the like rust spots that happen and white spots on them. And there's some down there that have a lot of it. And so this will probably be mostly all gladiolas when we're done here. So back on the other side, then there's more 9-bark that's there, and this is one of those. Not coming up with the name right now. But these are all alliums. One thing we're looking forward to is Mediterranean bells this year. Once you get started with bulbs, man, they just keep making more bulbs, so we're trying to make home for them. And this is all alliums and St. John's wort, what you're seeing. That is really nice. Several different varieties in color. They're kind of a red and orange and yellow down through here. And they're just starting, but they don't look like much now, but they will be. Yeah. Sweet William for this part, and so they overwintered here, which is what you want. Because this variety is a biannual, so they had to go through the full winter, and they made it through. So they should, and I can see new growth coming up here, right here.
Sweet William's one of my favorites.
This thing is gonna be unbelievable when it pops.
They smell so good.
There's columbine down there, bachelor's button, and then 2 areas that are basically experimental, that we put perennials in these 2 just to see how they do. And there's several. There's I think I have 4 or 5 different viburnum, verbena, Canterbury bells, and some other things. And now we start into, this is the area where those plugs will go in. And so in the process of, there's more ranunculus underneath the tent, trying to get those things to bloom a little bit more. And then so these beds will be 6 feet wide, and the drip tape is laid down here in the process of putting drip tape in here. And then certain areas the landscape fabric will go down on top of it, and then they will be planted into there. So this row is 34 feet. There'll probably be 242 of those plugs that will go in here, and then there's another bed, and then there's another bed there. So that's approaching like 700 plants.
That's a lot of plants.
So that will do that.
People wonder where I get it from.
Yeah. Yeah,
These are ranunculus? They look like the same as the Sweet William.
yeah, no, they're Sweet William there.
Oh, okay.
And then those are ranunculus there.
Ooh, it feels nice and warm in there. It's like a cool sauna.
Yeah. And so this is one of those areas where the sun pops out. I got to run down here and kind of lift the sides of it up a little bit to get some nice air circulation, because you don't want too warm, but you don't want it too humid in there either, because you start getting humid, then there's all kinds of creepy crawly things that want to grow in there in that environment.
I'd imagine some furry things as well. This is new. Oh, you planted, okay.
So there's that's a new bed over there, getting ready to, that's where we're going to put 2 beds, and then also there's kind of an odd triangle. We thought we'd put hydrangeas out there. It's kind of shaded a little bit, and we might do pretty well out there. That was my usual garlic that looks very thin, and it is very thin because we grow something and something wants to eat it. In this case, the voles came in and they did a pretty good job. And the only way I've been successful at dealing with voles are with these sonic pingers. And so these are the solar operated ones, and they just sit in the ground and they put out a ping, and these are maybe 30 seconds. They put out a ping, and they're not supposed to like them. Like I can see right here where the dirt is like that. If I push my finger down in there, there's a tunnel. And then, so they have gone through. So I just installed those about 2 weeks ago. And I generally put about, at least twice as many as what they recommend.
Yeah.
You know, it says 5,000 square feet. Well, no, we're not doing that. So you'll see there's several that are around here.
Yeah.
And so these are some more perennials that we put in here, and this is lots of euphorbia, and there's some iris that's in here. And this is kind of our echinacea, and a lot of these are going to come up. They were beautiful last year, their first year, but this is going to be round 2, and they should really, really be nice. And then so there's 3 beds of different perennials that are in there, and always looking for more room. That's why I got to stay out of nurseries, is because I always come home with plants and I'm always having to find a place for them.
I think we can all relate.
Yeah, and then, got a place, but all the beds are full, so that means I got to make another bed, which I don't mind.
I see some green over there.
Yeah, some green grass. And then there's 2 rows of raspberries, and generally the raspberries are for foliage. They are great, beautiful in bouquets. They come up with some really nice long stems and fill them out very nice. But we also grow vegetables too, and we had really good luck with some sprouting broccoli this year that we're still eating on. They were planted probably about last September, but they are doing just great. There's some good eats there.
Oh, it looks like you already snapped the stalks off, so they're starting to grow side shoots. It's tasty. Well, now I have to do that.
That's otters. And so this is eucalyptus, and these eucalyptus, as you can see, they got pretty tall. And so what I do is chop them off to about that height, and then they will sprout. Those bottom stumps will just start sprouting everywhere, and it'll just be a column of nice eucalyptus, and that is silver coin eucalyptus. These are probably 3 years old. 3 years old, 2 years old. There's also some other taller ones that I'm not going to chop down, and the ones in the greenhouse are 2 years old. And there are two more rows of dahlias that are in here. And because I'm in zone 8B, which is fairly warm, I can leave them in the ground. They won't freeze. And so generally that's what they do. You probably see some holes, and that's where I've dug up some varieties that I didn't really want. But I have the other ones, and so there I will dig them up, and I'll split them, and I'll fill in those holes with the varieties that I want. I'm constantly having to go through dahlias, getting ones that really go good in arrangements. that have the stemling. You know, color is everything. So always playing around with those. And then so I have there's going to be 2 more rows of annuals that are going in here. Probably the sunflowers will go in here. This area here, just on this side, then is some artichoke plants. And they're struggling a little bit, and they always do this time of year, but they will be probably 6 foot tall and however big around. And a lot of the new foliage actually goes in arrangements quite nicely.
It's
and
beautiful.
a couple of times they'll put out, you know, nice little small little artichokes like that. And they might have a stem on them. Great. They look very nice. So there you can see that shot of peonies right there. And some of those varieties are really starting to pop.
Is it the red?
Yeah. Yeah, that whole row right there is peonies. Peonies are beautiful. Yeah. They are.
I agree. Those are the ones that are like the bulbs with like tons and tons and tons of layers.
No, those are lilies.
No. I think I'm thinking of the
Well,
right thing.
peony is coming out, and they're just kind of a small bulb, kind of not pencil shape, cigar shape, small cigar shape that comes out of it. And so the lilies are a bulb like this, and they almost look like an artichoke because you can peel off leaves, and there's also the meat that's in there.
Yeah.
And so then you generally, I have a circle in my hands that's big, but that's way too big for cut flowers. You want bulbs that are in the 35 millimeter range, something like that, because then they will grow up. The stems won't be so tall. If you let them grow that big, then there's this stalk that's about an inch around, and it will have maybe 18, 20 blossoms on the top of it. It looks great in a landscape, but it is worthless for a cut flower. So we're always having to kind of shift those out. But you can take those little artichoke leaves and you can pop them in some potting soil and propagate them that way. They naturally do make bulbettes, just like anything gladiolas or something like that. You can propagate.
Oh, hang on.
And those, for Garrison Gardens, those are worth propagating because they're free and you don't have to buy them. You know, which is great. There are more tulips in here, and we're not putting a lot of stock in these because tulips basically you buy and plant every year. And these were last year's, but we're trying to salvage them. And then so you can see on these tulips, these were not covered, and that's the botrytis that I'm talking about, right there. And then so that's actually got a blossom coming up. So it comes up, and then the blossom has that on it, and it's worth it. And there's some leftover narcissus that's in there. We're doing that. And before I just had the orchard into 18 individual trees, and mowing was kind of a real problem, and so I said, well, why not put them in beds, and then I can run irrigation. In the meantime, till the trees grow up, I can put in shrubs, and then so that's what you see there. There's some red twig dogwood that is going to go in here pretty quick, and so I'm filling in with some different shrubs. 4 cut flowers in between those while they grow up. And then I only have one path down each side to mow. Which is great. We do generate our fair amount of compost, and this is kind of weeded it down. I had probably about 9 yards of some just beautiful compost from, I think, probably 2 years is what it took to really make it into some fine stuff. Kind of playing around with this area with some raised beds, and with mixed success down here. Raised beds like this out here, it's pretty difficult to keep them watered. Looks like I have to. Working on another one. Well, one thing that put a screech to a halt was the price of lumber these days.
Yeah, it's a little of it up there.
Yeah, it's just way too expensive to do that.
Pretty cool.
I think that's the tour.
Yeah. Looking good. I'm excited to come here again when it's starting to bloom.